information, etc. So let me move to my list of lots of questions. Besides these power outages, are there some other critical cross-sector interdependencies that we should be very much aware of? Power grid and mobile networks are very clear, but are there some other similar interconnections that should be addressed early on?
Actually, in terms of a different infrastructures, of course, power is important, but in terms of the development of the system we're developing, it's about, well, the different types of communication systems. So, for example, as I said before, the interconnect between, the core networks, for example, that to us needs to be quite crucially resilient. We've seen, of course, optical fibers being dragged through over the ocean, over the floor of the ocean. So resilience in those kind of infrastructures as well as the mobile infrastructure is quite crucial, I would say. Yeah.
Any thoughts on service side of the stories, like what happens to our banking transactions and daily lives? Those are very strongly affected when we have these failures, and life stops totally. And we cannot simply afford that in the future. Tommy.
Yeah, I think this is how should we design the networks in crisis times where we have a balance between, particularly if it is a defense situation, because in Sweden we talk a lot about total defense, so the role of the civil life and military, and we need to have resistance in the non-military part of the country at the same time in a balance, so we make everything work. So some kind of joint design here where we can do priorities of resources and information flows to get all pieces going in a crisis situation in a country. So this kind of what Louis commented on, adaptive level of services, and we have pre-prioritized and maybe even regulated what kind of information needs to get through, and then we have different kind of service levels on it, so we can adapt down and still get the basics through.
Could you, Hannu, continue on that, your ideas and visions on hybrid networks?
Yeah. So this is my famous topic, and then I think about it. Yeah, not to taking account this kind of that what happened in the banking, but if the infra is background there. So when we looked at, we have nowadays the mobile network, then we rely on a lot of that. So then we forget it, we have talked about it, that how to utilize the NTN, how we could actually utilize the mesh network, what is today quite a lot in the tactical network side. But then also the drones are coming to picture, that we have all the time also coming to innovation where we can bring the power and data into fiber when we have a more distance in the drones, and they can actually be longer in there, so we can bring the additional network. So I think that it's how to use all this, whether we have a private public or we have a tactical bubble in there, what is the interoperability. And we are now putting together a lot of effort to looking at what is the architecture, how we actually then utilize this edge computing so that we can localize a lot of this kind of computing power, and security is coming in the picture. If you localize and then you lose something in the nearby, you can utilize the AI agent to moving in then this kind of critical information. We have to think about it that when the interoperability is working, I know that now you can immediately say that there's the different kind of spectrum wave and etc. But it's anyway something what we can investigate it, how to make this interoperability together. And then it's coming a lot of the priority. We know that in the satellite and tactical network, the data is not really, we cannot get the data through as much as in the mobile network, but we don't need to. We have certain things where we need to just get it to something true. So I truly believe that this kind of getting that hybrid network working in the level that it can can be as a backup for the others. And then certainly 5G already today is coming to be acting more this kind of the role in the different areas. So that's a long way, but I think that that's how I see that it's going to be then the resilient. That also when we go into area that some happened in the 5G, we can utilize satellite, get to some command or something through. If we are in the defense, then many times it's the important that we can get it to certain commands in the headquarters through, whether it's to any of the network. That's only the example of the defense, but maybe something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Aki, you wanted to say something as well.
Yes. As I said in my talk already, every network, cross-sector, every network is operated by human, right? So the human error, we have to get rid of human error. The very simple, stupid errors could kill people. And in order to get rid of that, I think maybe we can borrow the power of AI, but you know, there are people who are against AI, but still, it's better. If it is better, we should be employing this you know, AI to detect a simple error. And if we have a human in the closed loop, you know, and also we are losing workforce these days, and we are losing lots of good engineers for telecom business. And then we have to seriously think about this compensation of, you know, reduction of the workforce in telecom engineering.
Okay, let's move to regulation standards question. Maybe Ari can throw in a question before that. Yeah, there's a question.
Ari Polttoulu, University, Flagship. I have one question which you didn't touch here, which is basically yet another system which is not controlled by mobile systems. What is your take on GPS time synchronization as a single point of failure in our current networks and the future networks? Okay, GPS or GNSS, but satellite-based synchronization, how we can improve it? Anybody has good idea or solution proposal for that? I heard something from Aki yesterday we discussed. Tell your solution for that. Yes, so in Japan we have technology of the very precise clock technologies. And if, you know, we are doing, you know, synchronization of the clock because we have the precision of the clock is not there yet. For example, nanosec, you know, accuracy is necessary for today's mobile network. But if we can push this farther to, you know, the accuracy is going to, you know, 10 to the power of negative 12 to 15, like, you know, picosec and femtosec level of accurate clock. So then we may not be, you know, it may not be necessary to even synchronize that. You know, once you synchronize at some point and move this clock around, so then it works just fine, right? So, well, so the technology is not available for business yet, but there is a research needs to be done in this area, I think. Yeah, that might be a nice solution, precise clock technology and make it cheap. Tommy, do you have any idea?
Yeah, I think there are two paths. One is to get resilience on the synchronization, for example, with the help of LEO satellite systems. The other one is to create what, I rephrase Gerard Fettwei's word on gearbox systems. I mean, if we could have, we relax the synchronization requirements and we go in an operation mode where we standardize different levels of synchronization requirements on the network. The performance goes down, but we can still get things through. So that is an explicit impact on a standard.
Good. So unless audience has another question, I will go. There is one question here.
Apologies, I'm stalling your discussion, but Christos Masros from UCL in London. I just wondered on this issue of power generation and power availability, which seems to be the bottleneck in all the scenarios you mentioned. what is your take on the integration with renewable energy, with renewable sources, and having a network that detaches from the power grid to some extent and extends its longevity in these emergencies? The NTN operates energy neutral. What stops the terrestrial network?
Yeah, excellent question. Anybody has? Mikko.
So on this renewable energy and some local energy availability, so that the base stations could be like self-dependent on the sources of energy. So certainly that is something that has been tried and is certainly one option to take into account. And as said, so it is already real life things, but then like the wider adoption of that depends on many factors. What are the alternatives and what are the requirements? But yeah, it's a good topic.
But I can give you one example of what's happening in Finland. One of our national operators, Elisa, they have a new business line that they are already putting in place, distributed energy systems. So the idea is that they have battery farms, and which are powered up, or energy is stored from windmills basically, when you have a lot of wind available, and then they tend to sell back to the grid the network from the batteries energy when the prices of electricity is high. So in Finland, electricity is priced, we have spot price system, so it is changing every hour, in the future every 15 minutes. So it's potentially business if you have battery farms to charge them when electricity is cheap and then to sell when it's high. So, but I personally believe that coupling of at least some parts, critical parts of mobile networks with renewable energy is one part of the solution in the future and can give a lot of advantages. In countries especially where, and in most of the European countries where renewable energy is being built at increasing speed. So David, you want to comment?
Yeah, I was just really talking about that interdependence, and in this case, it's not just for renewable technology, it's for batteries. It's for battery technology there, and that's what's going to give you the longevity of backup time, and also the consumption of the equipment. So if 6G research can bring down the consumption and the battery technology gets better, there's a better chance for renewable energy, especially when the power grid fails, especially. Yeah.
One problem we have nationally in Finland is that operators practice site sharing quite a bit. So 3 national operators sharing the same tower, sharing the same battery backup. So they have 1/3 of the energy available if the grid is in outage. So that's a solution for a problem for the future to solve. Let's move to standards and regulation issues. Because nothing really moves if regulation and standards is not supporting any features for the future. And I don't know if you have looked at this ITUR Working Party 5D 6G use cases and requirements document that is now being prepared. Some drafts have been around for some time already. And when I looked at that last time, resilience word was mentioned 4 or 5 times, just mentioned with absolutely no meaning or measures how to make it happen. So to me it looks like blah, 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 which is really worrying. If ITUR is not requesting anything on resilience, we can be sure that 3GPP wouldn't care less. So how do you feel that, and do you have any other viewpoints to this little bit negative feeling?
Maybe I can say to some word, it's simple, yes, it should be part of that already in the ITUR or then the 3GPP. If it's like I said in the presentation, my presentation, if it's not already there, how come it can? And we know already that if it's not part of the standardization, it's not happening. So maybe there should be some of the minimum requirements or something what is needed from the government side, even pushing that there has to be something in the resilience.
David.
Yeah, so just referring back to our EuCNC program, we've distinctly, we're finding that in the 3GPP standards there are gaps. You know? We're testing the technology, there are gaps in the standards. Do we go back to 3GPP and spend several years trying to fill the gaps. Actually, what we're going to do is go to ETSI with a technical committee and standardise the gap filling that way. And I'm talking probably more in the short term there, as we establish EuCNC, but that might be a good approach in a way, because the policy approach with EuCNC includes the objective of European strategic autonomy. Yeah. So basically, European standards for European purpose. It's back to the old days in a way.
Yeah, I kind of think the same way that regional and national regulators, they really must be more strong in requiring things in the future. Yeah. And Europe could show the way to the rest of the world.
Yeah, indeed.
And it has to start somewhere. And I think when we look at European Commission, we have lots of regulations and rules coming all the time, almost every day. This would be just another ruling they could easily make if they wish. So I think we, the whole community, we have to keep shouting loud on this and try to influence every possible way and everywhere that this is really heard out.
It's interesting as well, because when we talk to our other, we're the European program, and when we talk to, for example, different regions of the world, they're saying, oh yes, that's a good idea. Do it locally for local purpose. Yeah, because you can imagine the potential global pushback in 3GPP. That's unfortunately where we are with the new, with the current geopolitical situation.
Other comments? Tommy and then Mikko.
I think I'll try to structure a little bit on my first slide, and another structuring will be focusing on use cases where we have a high dependability and high requirement on resilience. And if we start to do that on this holistic view, I think we will see there are a lot of standards involved on different standard bodies, not only 3GPP. For example, if you want to involve spectrum aspects, spectrum sharing, then we have ITU. If the organization aspects, then we have ISO standards and so on. So I think it could be beneficial to work a little bit use case based and then bring together and see are those standards working together, and are there some weak point here, because it's the weakest point in the chain that are making the resilience not to work.
Mikko?
In this ITU IMT 2030 60 approach, so in the starting point, so resilience is there, as also Matti was saying, and then for 3GPP is discussing about resilience with respect to use cases, is discussing resilience also already to some initial extent with respect to technical enablers, the technical side. But also, as Matti was highlighting, so in order to get a bigger impact there, so activity is needed. But it's a good start that it is there, and 3GPP is also active at this term.
But yesterday in another panel we were discussing a little bit about dual use as a booster for ICT field development in whole Europe. And if we believe that this dual use could be something, I think resilience is really the key feature. If we can introduce that one and make it happen, then the economical growth would be there through dual use use cases of different sorts. So let's move smoothly to this business considerations section of our panel. So what is the best business case you can really imagine for resilient 6G? Or does it even exist? Who would like to start?
Oh,
David and then Mikko.
I can't avoid this answer, because when we say business case, public safety is not really a business case. It's a societal need. And one frustration I have, actually, is that the entire community talks about the Draghi report, which is all about economic capability of Europe. Yeah? And
but I would like to disagree with you right away, as you are very well aware of. For example, in Finland, we are getting rid of Tetra networks, and they will be operated by commercial operators. Yep. So public authorities, services is business case for operators.
It is, yeah. But it's actually understanding how that business dynamic is going to work. It'll possibly work in your case, but it might not work in a bigger country like France, for example. They found a model, but they have to regulate, they have to put laws in place to make that happen. Yeah. We are finding in our program that the Because the societal need is bigger than the business driver, but we're likely to head towards an EU regulation to I would say, catalyze the business case, I would say. So there is a business case, I agree, but it's understanding that business case. We have a figure of how much we think the market is going to be for public safety, but we don't know how it's going to realize, you know. That's the difficulty, I would say.
But shouldn't be obvious that if your networks are reliable, able to self-recover, that should sell better than badly working networks.
I totally agree. And if we get the regulation right and the mobile operators do turn on priority preemption resilience, then everybody, the whole community, benefits from the business there. Yeah. So it's like a transition time.
Do we have other views? Mikko and then Aki.
So for the business case, so either you need to have somebody to whom this resilience is immediately providing monetizable value, or then you need to find somebody who can then monetize in it another way to their customers. And one area to start with this could be then private networks operating or providing the connectivity to then some players to whom this resiliency is of this monetary very concrete value in their network. And then for very general network, then of course there are these challenges that like who is paying for that, who is getting the value, and also even though there would be value for the customer, so like how likely do they consider that then the need for this is, and how do they kind of estimate the value of that?
So I think this resilience, I think telco operators don't have much incentive to do this. So I think we need to design an incentive mechanism here. And you know, this year at MWC, I saw there is one example of monetizing from a network slicing, you know, given a different SLA. And for example, you know, all the services in the world have various classes of SLA already. For example, when I fly here, we had a first class, business class, economy class tickets, but we don't have that in the telecommunication yet. So once telco knew that, okay, so there is a monetization scheme that if you put very high resilient subscription plan, and which is, you know, double the price, then if we can see that ARPU is going up, so then that would give telco enough incentives to make, you know, the slice that has very high SLA, very resilient, but at the same time, you know, it's very costly, I mean, expensive service. But I think there are people who would buy this kind of subscription.
Tommy, and then Hannu.
Yeah, I think that regulations here can drive creating new business cases if we increase the resilience requirements on certain services. Then there could be business cases, say for example, payment, banking, they are very dependable on it. Then the question is though is if each operator should have the same requirements, or there can be differentiation there. Some operators target the high resilience services and find a business case there. Or it could even be like, if I do an analogy to the Swedish post system, we still have a former state company, PostNord, that they are not privately owned, but they still have an extra requirement on delivery of mail, regular mail. I mean, we could imagine some differentiation of operators. The operator that get the license to operate certain services, they must have a certain level of resilience, and that maybe can make it economically viable for them.
Okay, Hannu.
Okay, so I think that there is no yet this kind of killer business case for the resiliency. It's still, I could maybe think about it that audience can also generate a lot of business cases even for us that what can be done. I see the resilience as like a value creator, so it brings definitely value and room for the business case. It could be the premium. I believe that there's now, if you look the verticals, energy, defense, they are looking already now operator who can provide it, the resilience network and this kind of a long-lasting contract, etc. So I think that there's a lot of still room to think about it, what kind of business cases we can have.
Okay, do we have still questions from audience related to 6C resilience? Okay, Marcos.
Thank you. As you know, over the last 4 or 5 years, we have been talking a lot about sustainability, and you can see now most of the SNS, European SNS projects, they are dealing with sustainability. And now we are talking about resilience and how to make communication network resilience. If you see, on one hand we have sustainability and the other resilience. I think that there are very much conflicting requirements on this. So are we going to design or develop a resilience network at the cost of sustainability? I think we need probably to find some sweet spot between these two extremes in terms of requirements.
So there is some level of conflict, but then there is some level that they are, like, so to say, on the same side. Yes, in order to have resilience, you need something additional, and you need to do something more, and that does bear some immediate challenge for sustainability. But then, on one hand, if you face some serious challenges and your resilience preparation fails, then you might be in a situation where there is much more severe consequences from this sustainability perspective. And so in some sense, there is like a short-term, negative maybe impact, but then maybe on the longer term, if we don't take care of this resilience, we might face even higher challenges with respect to sustainability.
Okay, let's start to wrap up. And now I ask everybody in the panel to answer to a very simple question. We start from here to the other end of the chairs. Very simple question. What should we do as a research and development community? What should we do as a next very concrete thing to foster and support resilience development in mobile networks?
I think, in a way, think about the worst case that can happen. Think about the next worst case that can happen. Think about it all the different levels down, but primarily focus on that worst that can happen and what is needed to be put in place in terms of the innovation in the technology and the deployment, because it's the deployment actually that's way out of the scope of this room. But actually, how can you in this room support the deployment factors? How can you make it easier and cheaper for the deployment of resilience, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think that one very important thing is that where, Matti, you have especially been active is to overall increase the awareness on resilience and its importance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, community needs to understand what it means by resilience. Definition of resilience and how we attack, what kind of technologies are needed. And especially because I'm from academia, we have to educate students that this problem is very important for future society. And we are, as I said before, we are losing the workforce, and we are less and less population. And of course, the engineers for telecommunication business, less and less people are engaged. So I think we need to first understand the problem. This is a very significant problem, and also do some education to, for younger generation.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I have so I think that it's the increased awareness and then join in the standardization and somehow influence the standardization.
From academic side, I think, as I highlighted before, to do models on compound effects and the dependabilities, then to create the kind of system models for resilient systems, and then in the end performance metrics at different levels, as I highlight service and so on. From going and impacting real systems, maybe, actually I don't know if SNS, JU already have working groups on this. If not, maybe that is a fora where we could start to work more structured on use cases and bring in different kind of actors and work together on sharp use cases where we can do something hands-on.
Okay, great. If I can get slides to the screen, I can tell you what I'm going to do next. Can you put them back? Okay, thank you. So we started, those of you who don't know, we have been actively publishing 6G white papers in past to show the way to the community that what we think on certain critical aspects related to 6G RDI directions for the future. So we started to draft 6G resilience white paper a bit more than a month ago with some European leading experts related to this. And now we are opening this white paper work to anybody to contribute or review or both. So just go after this QR code and then you can sign in to be contributor to this white paper. We will publish this in an event which I believe I have not heard about, the first 6G resilience event, and we will plan to do that in second half of November in Oulu. It will be announced very soon. We are reserving the place already, and those who are actively contributing to the white paper at least are interested in coming to Oulu, and it will be open event for everybody. So we have drafted table of contents already. Structure is there. It's not carved to stone. It's work ongoing, and we expect this to finish. So we really intend to make noise out of this, and really try to make sure that the whole technical community around the world is aware of this very important aspect. With these words, I would like to thank our great panel, and thank you for the audience for not falling asleep. Thank you.